In 1952, an archivist named Josephine Cobb found something impossible in the National Archives. It was the only confirmed photograph of Abraham Lincoln at Gettysburg, November 19, 1863. But in the foreground, there was a boy, about 6 years old, wearing a bugler's uniform that was too big for him and adult boots sinking into the mud. His haircut was too modern for the time. His features didn't fit. For decades, it was a photographic mystery, until a lawyer named Andrew Basiago broke the silence. He claims that boy is him. But Andrew was born in 1961.
Sure, because the best way to use technology that alters the fabric of space-time is to send a primary school kid into a war zone full of dysentery. Very official, really.
There are stories that live in the shadows of official history, whispered in hushed tones and buried in redacted files. Today, we decode one of the most audacious of them all, the Pegasus File. According to the testimony of a handful of whistleblowers, this was a top-secret joint operation between the CIA and the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA. Its alleged purpose was nothing short of conquering time and space. And its alleged assets? Children, turned into so-called chrononauts, America's first generation of time-space explorers. At the heart of this story is a technology so profound it defies belief. A network of teleportation devices known as jump rooms. The origin of this incredible claim, like so many threads of 20th century technological lore, begins with one man, Nikola Tesla. The story goes that on January 7, 1943, the brilliant, eccentric inventor dies destitute and alone in room 3327 of the New Yorker Hotel. His death triggered an immediate and unusual response. Within hours, before his body was even cold, agents from the FBI and the Office of Alien Property Custodian descended on the hotel. They sealed the room and confiscated everything inside, including an estimated 80 trunks filled with a lifetime of notes, schematics, and inventions. The official reason was to secure any assets that might be of interest to America's enemies during World War II. But theorists believe they were after something far more specific. When a portion of the documents were eventually returned to the Tesla family years later, a significant discrepancy was noted. At least 20 boxes were missing. According to Project Pegasus insiders, those missing boxes contain Tesla's most revolutionary and dangerous work, the secrets to what he called radiant energy. This was a theoretical form of free, abundant energy that, if weaponized, could also power instantaneous transport. For years, the research lay dormant, a classified prize too complex to unlock. But then, on October 4, 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik. The beeping satellite orbiting overhead sent a shockwave of humiliation and panic through the U.S. government. In response, President Eisenhower created ARPA with a single, urgent mandate: ensure that the United States is never again surprised by a technological leap. Suddenly, Tesla's missing files weren't just a curiosity. They were a top priority strategic imperative.
Yeah, because if you lose a rocket race, the logical response is to steal a dead genius's papers and start playing with portals. Just a typical Monday at the Pentagon.
Following the alleged success of the chronovisor, DARPA's ambitions escalated. The goal shifted from passive observation to active participation, teleportation, and eventually, time travel. In a cavernous, secret hangar in New Jersey, a hand-picked team of scientists and engineers were tasked with assembling a machine based on Nikola Tesla's recovered papers on radiant energy. The centerpiece of this endeavor was a pair of imposing 8-foot-tall pillars. Constructed from a classified alloy and bristling with emitters and copper coils, they were designed to tear a hole in the fabric of space-time itself. The air in the hangar was thick with a mixture of ozone, anticipation, and palpable dread. This was Project Pegasus's most dangerous phase.
Progress report. Portals nearly ready, but the kids' dental plan. Classified as optional. Jump to Mars, keep the cavities.
On March 12, 1968, after months of calibration and simulations, the machine was activated for its first human trials. The initial volunteers were not just soldiers, they were military physicists, men who understood the colossal energies they were about to confront. They were briefed on the risks, but the true nature of what was to come was beyond anyone's comprehension. As the pillars hummed to life, a low thrumming sound filled the hangar, growing in intensity until it felt like a physical pressure against the chest. The result was temporal carnage. The first volunteer, a 31-year-old lieutenant, stepped into the shimmering energy field. He was gone for only a moment. Upon exiting, his body had aged 3 decades in mere seconds. His skin was paper-thin, his hair white, his posture stooped. He collapsed before he could speak, dying on the spot from what the project's medical officer could only describe as instantaneous catastrophic senescence. The next volunteer suffered an even more grotesque fate. He appeared to be separated in time. His legs materialized on the receiving platform first, standing perfectly still. 30 agonizing seconds later, his torso slammed down into place, followed by his head. He was technically alive, but his consciousness was shattered, hopelessly desynchronized from his own body. After a series of such horrific failures, the scientists discovered a terrifying pattern. The adult consciousness, with its fixed beliefs, memories, and rigid neural pathways, was simply too brittle to withstand the temporal shear. It would shatter under the strain. But children, their minds were still forming. Their perception of reality fluid and malleable. According to the project's theorists, they were temporally flexible, their consciousness able to bend with the flow of time instead of breaking against it. A moral line was about to be crossed, and allegedly it was a DARPA contractor named Raymond Basiago who volunteered to push his own family over it. He offered his 6-year-old son, Andrew, for the program. Decades later, Andrew would describe the sensation of his first jump, walking toward what looked like a curtain of bright light, feeling the air around him turn thick and resistant, like moving through invisible jelly before being pulled into the unknown. Suddenly, Andrew was in Gettysburg, 1863. He remembers the smell of horses and smoke. He saw Lincoln climb the platform. Andrew returned physically unharmed. The experiment had worked.
What a great father, right? Son, do you want ice cream, or do you want to go see a president assassinated a century before I was born? At least he didn't make him wash the car.
By 1980, the project no longer just bent time, but space. The CIA operated jump rooms in El Segundo, California. According to Basiago, he wasn't alone. Among his companions was a lanky Columbia University student named Barry Soetoro. Years later, the world would know Barry as Barack Obama. 2 other chrononauts independently confirmed that Soetoro was there, training for missions to Mars.
Mission checklist, courage, snacks, and zero orthodontics coverage. CIA policy, molars are mission expendable. Stop the press. Official news, the former president was a child Martian astronaut. If this doesn't make you question your reality, you're either a bot or in sleep mode.
So, after this journey through shimmering portals and alleged Martian landscapes, we arrive at the final critical question. How much of this is real? To find an answer, we must separate the documented from the declared. Let's start with the official facts, the pieces of this puzzle grounded in historical record. It is a documented fact that upon Nikola Tesla's death in 1943, the FBI, under the Office of Alien Property Custodian, immediately confiscated nearly 2 truckloads of his personal papers, notes, and research. The official story is that nothing of significance was found. But for decades, that act has fueled speculation that Tesla's most revolutionary ideas, perhaps even concepts related to radiant energy and space-time, were absorbed into the classified world, becoming the seed for projects we were never meant to see. Then there is the darker precedent. It is an undeniable, horrifying fact that the US government performed atrocious experiments on its own citizens, including children, under programs like MK Ultra. From the 1950s to the 70s, the CIA engaged in clandestine research into mind control and behavioral modification, using hypnosis, psychological torture, and drugs on unwitting subjects. This program proved one thing beyond any doubt. There was an established willingness within secret government factions to exploit the vulnerable, including gifted children, for national security objectives, no matter the ethical cost. These programs created a blueprint for recruiting and manipulating individuals for morally ambiguous ends. This is the bedrock of verifiable history upon which Andrew Basiago's extraordinary story is built. But this is also where the facts end and the claims begin. The science Andrew describes is often a tantalizing mix of legitimate technical terms: quantum mechanics, teleportation, chronovision, woven into narratives that have no verifiable physical meaning or experimental proof. His detailed accounts of jump room procedures, encounters on Mars, and meeting historical figures are compelling, but they remain just that: accounts. Without a single piece of physical evidence, a declassified document, or a corroborating witness free from similar controversy, we are left with a powerful story, but a story nonetheless. Was Andrew Basiago a genuine chrononaut, one of America's first child time travelers? Or was he a gifted, impressionable child identified by a clandestine program and then psychologically manipulated through sophisticated trauma-based conditioning to believe he was? We simply don't know for sure.
If they can bend space-time, they can dodge paperwork, especially dental. Mars, miles. Yes, dental miles. Denied.
But the question I leave you with today is this: if the power to control time, to edit reality itself, were discovered and subsequently hidden within an agency that answers to no one, would we even know? Would we be living in the original, unaltered timeline? Or are we and our entire reality just the result of a convenient adjustment made in the past, a correction they never told us about? I am your host at WT Fact AI Official, where the truth is always filtered.
And remember, if you see your future self, don't ask for investment advice. They're probably as broke as you are, but with a more expensive time machine.
Subscribe, hit the bell, and stay tuned for the next leak. Until next time.